Shalom Aleichem and welcome to Online Smicha. You know what it says in Pirkei Avos, that to live amongst a shachein tov, a good neighbor, is a very special thing. And in davening, in Berachas HaShachar, we mentioned about a chaver tov, a good friend. Good friends, good neighbors help each other. And especially when it comes during times of Yom Tovim, when at the last minute you realize you're missing something, you're missing an ingredient for your cooking, you're missing tables or chairs for the sukkah, so you run over to your neighbor, and like a good neighbor, a good friend will give you whatever you need. And obviously, if he doesn't give it to you as a present, he gives it to you that when you're done, or when the Yom Tov is over, you return it. And the question becomes, what happens is it's after Yom Tov, or it's after a period of time when your neighbor, your friend, gave you something to use, and he's not returning it. May you approach him or even nag him to ask him for that item back. Why is it even a question? After all, it's mine. Because there is a din in Hilchas Halva. This is brought in the Shulchan Aruch, and the big Shulchan Aruch, the Mechabers in the Choshen Mishpat Siman Tzadik Zayin. In the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, it's brought in Hilchas Halva, Siman Beis, Sif Beis. Hilchas Halva, Siman Aleph, Sif Beis. Halva is a loan. Now, by a loan in particular, there is a isser, there's a prohibition that if you loan somebody money and the time is up and you want your money back, so if the person has the money, he's just being cruel or negligent and he's not paying back, then you could ask him, excuse me, time is up, I want my money back. If, however, the person is nebach in a situation where he doesn't have the money, so the Alter Rebbe in Siman Aleph in Hilchos Hava, Seif Beis, writes like this: Kol hanoige shasa'ani, if you come and nudge or claim from a poor man, and you know that it's not that you're fighting City Hall because this person nebach doesn't have the money to return, then the halacha is, if that person has loy mois v'loy metaltalin, if the person doesn't have any lucrative cash money, or he doesn't have even metaltalin, anything to give, by you asking that person, oiver b'loy, you're transgressing a loy in the Torah, shenamar, because the pasuk says loysia loy kenoisha. You're not allowed to be somebody nudging, nagging, bothering a person who's nebach down. In the next sif, the Alter Rebbe goes even further. If you know that that person doesn't have the money, the whereabouts to pay back the loan, you should not even walk around him during that period of time, because that person is nebach going to look at you and be so embarrassed, and you're putting him up to a very bad situation. So by a halva, by a loan, it says that if you give somebody a loan and the person doesn't have that item back, you're not allowed to ask him for it. So some discuss, how about if I gave food items or chairs and tables for a sukkah? Would this halacha apply there too? So when you read the definition of the halacha, it's brought in Svarim, it's brought in Avos Chesed, in a Sefer Avos Chesed, that says that obviously if the person has the table, has the chairs, he's just lazy to return it, that's not where the prohibition is. The prohibition is you cannot nudge somebody for something when nebach he doesn't have it. He used your money and he's struggling. But if the table or chairs or whatever item you gave him is just laying around, he's just being negligent or being lazy, then the isser of leisia lekenoisha will not apply. There is a similar halacha discussion where there is a letter from the Rebbe. Somebody writes to the Rebbe, and obviously in the earlier years, it looks like that from Merkez, the Inyanei Chinuch, they would send out Svarim to different people, and people would feel that, you got a sefer in the mail, you'll pay something for it. Now obviously, the main goal of sending out the Svarim was to spread Chassidus, spread the teachings. Somebody writes a letter to the Rebbe and says to the Rebbe, I feel bothered by this obligation. It looks like when you send me these books, I become obligated to pay. So here's $1 or whatever it is. But I'm shocked. He writes to the Rebbe, sort of like, I'm shocked that this way of working might be borderline a chash of this halacha of leisia loikanoisha. So the Rebbe says, first of all, again and again, leisia loikanoisha is only when the person does not have the means. If the person does not have the means to pay for it, then you're setting him up to be embarrassed, to get embarrassed. But if it's a sale or something like that, where a person could just return the item and not even become obligated, and second of all, if he wants it, he could pay for it. He has the means to pay for it. The Isser of Leisia Leikanoisha will not apply.